Welcome to another episode of WTF Cinema.
Hey everybody, welcome back to WTF Cinema. I apologize for the interruption in our service, but I gotta be honest, the Christmas toy took a lot out of me. So I have decided to retreat into my list of obscure movies that I've got sitting in my DVD collection, and I came up with this one. Now, normally, I don't do a lot of background or research into these films. I try to come in them as fresh as possible, just an average guy on the street sort of thing. But I do have a degree in film, and from time to time it feels good to maybe stretch those muscles. I also, pertaining to today's topic, took a class in African American cinema. Why does it matter that he was gay? You and I have a very different idea of what funny is. Anyway, I thought I would talk to you a little bit about Blaxploitation films. See, since the invention of television, cinema has always struggled with TV in terms of how do we get the audience to come pay money to see us rather than sit at home in their underwear and watch whatever's on TV. Now, our ultimate solution, more or less, came from the summer blockbusters. I believe starting with Jaws in particular. These big, spectacular things that you just couldn't get on television. But various other tactics were tried over the years. And at some point in the 70s, some very smart people at a movie studio came up with an idea. You know, and I should say this now, I'm going to use the word black instead of African American. I mean no offense by it, it's just I'm gonna have to say the word a lot, and if I have to say African American like 15 times in 3 sentences, I'm gonna trip over my own tongue and sound stupid. I mean no offense to anybody of any race. I judge people based on their individual merits. I don't care what color your skin is. So if I offend any of you by saying black a lot, I do apologize. It is not my intention. To be fair, your skin isn't black. Mine isn't white. You're various shades of brown, and I'm a peach-like color. So the term is stupid anyway. But I'm going to use it just for the ease of language. So this studio executive came in and said, you know, maybe, just maybe, if we put black people on the screen, black people will pay to see it. It's just a wild idea, but maybe people will pay money to see representations of themselves and their culture on the big screen. The idea took off, and Blaxploitation was born. Blaxploitation is a genre of films where the only thing that really ties these films together is the cast is mostly black. That's kind of the point. A few of them do decently try to convey a cultural message, or to show something about the lifestyle or the culture, but a lot of them were just quick bucks, and not all of them were even made by black people. The idea is, take any story we can get, throw a bunch of black people in it, and we'll make money from the black people. Today's film is, I think, an example of how just lame a lot of these movies could be, because it wasn't about quality, it was about quantity. It was about getting black butts in seats to make money. This film was created by and stars a man named Rudy Ray Moore. He was fairly big in the Blaxploitation genre. He created a character called Dolomite and did a whole series of films based off of that. He spends almost all of his movies speaking in rhyme. This one is no exception. He speaks in rhyme a lot, but not all the time. It's a little strange, because he'll go out of his way to rhyme for 5 minutes here, then he won't rhyme for 20 minutes, and then he'll rhyme for the next 15. Anyway, I think we've done enough of this background, so let's go ahead and dig in to Petey Wheatstraw, the Devil's Son-in-Law. Our film opens with our hero, Petey Wheatstraw, telling us how awesome he is, with a complete string of nonsense.
I can sit on a tombstone and produce baby ghosts.
He tells us about the day he was born, which is also apparently the same day that Dorothy went to Oz. Petey's birth was not an easy one, because you see, when he was born, he was the size of a 7-year-old boy and wearing a diaper. And before the doctor pulled out that 7-year-old boy, he removed a watermelon from that woman's vagina. I'm trying so hard right now not to have a mental picture of the damage that a watermelon and a 7-year-old boy do coming out of a vagina. Thank you, Petey Wheatstraw, for giving me this struggle. The opening credits let us know that this movie features the skills of Leroy and Skillet. It's about time these two guys got the break that they deserve. The credit right there in the lights. Now, if only I knew who they were. 6 minutes in, and Petey has already been taken under the wing of a kind old man who teaches him the ways of Kung Fu. Okay, I think the theme song's kind of catchy. What do you want from me? After being taught all the mysteries of the world and superior Kung Fu fighting techniques, Petey announces his desire to become a stand-up comedian. We're like 8 minutes into this thing, and it's already taken so many turns that I'm completely lost. Our movie has two main plots, and the first of which is this. Petey, the stand-up comedian, is coming into town around the same time that Leroy and Skillet are putting on a big show. Now, Leroy and Skillet borrowed some money from characters that are implied to have mob ties. And they're putting on a big $100,000 show with dancers and bands and magic acts, just everything. It's a huge deal. But then they find out Petey Wheatstraw is coming to town. And that's a problem, because he's going to steal our audience. Because the stand-up comedian, who's coming into town 2 days after our show opens, is going to steal away our audience for our big, huge budget extravaganza. Because if you give me a choice between going to see a show with dancing girls and bands and all sorts of things, or going to a dive bar to watch some stand-up comedian make fun of a fat woman's butt, I know which one I'm picking. Some thieves steal parts from Petey's car. They steal a tire and a seat, because that's the kind of thing thieves go for. And Petey chases them down, leading us to some actually kind of stupid slapstick sequences. Let me get this straight. 20 minutes into this film, and it's about a kung fu fighting stand-up comedian who is going up against a couple of guys with mob ties, with slapstick thrown in. This is what we're watching. I almost missed Brotherhood of the Wolf. At least its kung fu fighting looked good, as opposed to this. Petey refuses to postpone his show, however, and so Leroy and Skillet send some boys to rough up Petey's friend. In the scuffle, Petey's friend's little brother ends up getting shot, a character we just met 5 seconds before he died. Oh, hells no! It's on now! Don't worry, I won't be doing that again. Then, at the little boy's funeral, a gang shows up again with machine guns and kills everybody there. See, when the little boy was killed, a neighbor came out and said, "I got their license plate and a description of the guys. I've already told it to the cops." So the next logical step is for the guys to kill 20 people in broad daylight outside a church. Also, up to this point, their purpose has been to convince Petey to postpone the show. They weren't supposed to kill the little boy. They weren't supposed to kill Petey. They were just supposed to apply a little pressure. Then they accidentally killed the little boy. And their reaction to accidentally killing the little boy? Well, hell, we better go kill 20 random people. Petey's dead! The movie's over! In a horrible representation of hell, Petey is offered a deal by the devil. See, one way you can shoot a movie with scenes in hell without having to build these elaborate hellscape sets is you could just make sure you can't see anything. I believe it's a trick the Doom generation would later use to great effect. Lucifer offers Petey a very simple deal. I'll give you back your life, and I'll help you enact revenge upon Leroy and Skillet. And all I ask in return is that you marry my daughter and impregnate her, giving birth to the Antichrist. Petey immediately takes the deal because what's not to like about this deal, right? I get revenge on a couple of fat guys who gunned me down, and in return I offer the world the Antichrist. So Lucifer undoes the shooting. He rewinds it, and the shooting never happened, bringing all of those other people back to life as well. Did they give their soul to the devil too? Were they ripped out of heaven? The shooting just didn't happen. Which means Petey doesn't have to make a deal with the... I hate time travel stories. Amazingly, all of his friends instantly believe his story. My friends and I are pretty tight, but if I sat around and told my friends, hey, by the way, earlier today, we were all killed. You don't remember it, though, because I made a deal with the devil, and we're all alive again, and now I've got to marry the devil's ugly daughter, but I get to live. My friends, I don't think would buy that right away, despite how close we are. Petey and his friends end up tracking down some of the gang, and Petey literally scares the piss out of one of the guys, and causes his pants to magically change color as he wets them. Because you see, the bad guys remember killing Petey. Even though we saw that Lucifer undid the shooting, and when time moved forward again, the shooters weren't there. But they remember killing him and reporting to their bosses that he was dead. But he's not, because it didn't happen. And then after the next 5 minutes, this never comes up again that he was supposedly dead and isn't anymore. And I'm not sure how they remember something that didn't happen. I hate time travel stories. Lucifer calls up Petey to let him know that he has also blessed Petey with all of his infernal magical powers. See, he's going to give Petey this magical cane that will give Petey power equal to Satan's to help him enact revenge. Satan's pretty generous in this movie, because the deal was you'd marry the ugly daughter, impregnate her, and in exchange you'd get this stuff that you want. But so far there's been no mention of a wedding date. Lucifer is content to, take care of your revenge stuff first, I'll wait. Oh, and here's a whole bunch of magic power. You can have that too, because it's probably easier to let you have magic power than me just help you. Devil seems kind of dumb. Leroy and Skillet send some more thugs to beat up Petey. This time using swords and stabs instead of guns, because, well, Petey's obviously bulletproof now, so hack at him with a katana. Petey calls up his buddy, and they go to the local cemetery to get the magical cane. Hold on. I've seen every conversation that Petey and the devil have had. The devil said, "You're getting a magic cane," and then hung up. There was no mention of it being in the cemetery, but Petey finds it. It's behind that old tire over there. He never told you that. He never told you it was in a cemetery. I saw it. I'm the audience. I sat through this. You didn't have a private conversation with him. Not that you told me about, at least. And why would he tell you were having a cane, hang up, and then call you back 20 minutes later to tell you where it was? So it's not just the devil who's stupid, it's the writers. That's fantastic. I love that. Mr. White, the only white guy in the movie to have any dialogue, is implied to be the mob boss that's given Leroy and Skillet the money. I really only bring this up because he's only in a couple of scenes and we're really not going to see him after the next one he's in. Just because I find it kind of funny that the only white guy in the movie with dialogue is named Mr. White. You don't really get away with that if you reverse the races. The first use that Petey gets out of his magical cane is finding a bomb hidden in the bathroom. Also, the magical doohickey on the top of the cane is very clearly a wad of tinfoil. Anyway, Petey disposes of the bomb by throwing it into a nearby watermelon truck. This is the 6th appearance of Watermelon so far in this movie. I choose to make no comments about this. So the mob show opens up, packed house, and it seems to consist of a band playing the same 2 measures of music on a loop. Starting to see how a stand-up comedian could draw the audience away from this. I also have a feeling that these guys aren't actually playing these instruments. See if you can guess why. He's the quietest drummer ever. Petey uses his devil powers to disrupt the show and take control of Leroy and Skillet and make them insult their customers. Petey continues to use these infernal powers to make a chick's wig fly off and her clothes fall off. These infernal powers are kind of goofy. Meanwhile, Petey's friend is beating up the guy who killed his little brother in an alley. The guy's response to getting beaten up? He pulls out a knife and stabs himself in the stomach. I guess that's one way to avoid getting a beating. Nothing's ever made of this. It's never brought up again. Why would the guy stab himself in the stomach? Yeah, I'm getting the snot beat out of me, so I better just, go ahead and end it right here, right now. I don't want to use this knife on the guy who's attacking me. I'd rather just... And it's never mentioned again. Lucifer decides that since Petey got his revenge, because now Leroy and Skillet are on the run from the mob, or possibly just been murdered by the mob. We don't really know. It's never addressed. It's time for the wedding. Again, I'm still not sure why Lucifer doesn't get his part of the deal done first. Because sure, it's hard to beat Satan, but Daniel Webster did it. And so did that guy with the fiddle down in Georgia. Johnny, as I recall. So it's not that the devil can't lose. So wouldn't the devil get what he wants first? And then he's won? Meanwhile, Petey barges into a completely random, non-sequitur bit of marital strife. See, this woman just caught her man cheating, she's gonna stab him. Petey uses his powers, he freezes everybody. Unfreezes the woman, says, I will give you one wish with my satanic powers. One wish. What do you want? Well, he's a dog. Turn him into a dog. So Petey turns him into a dog. If I was Petey, I'd be a little bit more nervous about using devil powers. But he's not. The next 10, 15 minutes of this is just him running around causing miracles and happy times with devil powers. Something Satan later says, by the way, I don't appreciate you doing that. And then it's never addressed again. He also spends a bizarre amount of time forcibly combing this child's hair. Is that a black culture thing that I'm just not aware of? I mean, is that something that normally happens? They go out and find children and comb their hair in the middle of the street while the kid struggles and tries to get away? I need to get out more. Lucifer finally catches up to Petey. He actually spends quite a bit of time trying to track Petey down, because, Petey's out performing miracles. He's the devil. The man's carrying around a staff containing the devil's power. Guy sold his soul to the devil, essentially. Devil doesn't know where he is. God never had this kind of trouble tracking down Joan. Now it's time for Petey to come up with a plan to get out of marrying the devil's daughter. You see, Petey's concern isn't about marrying the devil's daughter and providing an antichrist, bringing hell on earth and all that. That never even comes up. It's never even mentioned. Petey's problem is that the devil's daughter is ugly. That's the whole reason he does not want to marry the devil's daughter and impregnate her with the antichrist. Because she's ugly. Showing a lot of depth here. So, Petey has to come up with a plan to avoid marrying this ugly chick. She's so ugly we never see her face. She's as ugly as your imagination. And the plan is this. His buddy, using skills we've never seen before, is going to create a Petey Wheatstraw mask. Then they're going to find and abduct a wino off the street, inject him with some heavy-duty drugs so that he's practically passed out, put the Petey Wheatstraw mask on him, and let Satan take him in Petey's place. It's a flawless plan. Don't see how it could possibly fail. Certainly wouldn't want to use the devil power to just make somebody look like you. Because if you could turn a man into a dog, you can make a man look like you. I'm sorry. But no, in this case, we're going to make a mask. A lifelike, realistic mask. As a wedding present. Satan gives Petey something I feel a lot of soon-to-be fathers-in-laws give their soon-to-be sons-in-laws. He hooks Petey up with an orgy with a bunch of devil girls. Have fun, son! Sleep with all of these random women before you marry my daughter tomorrow. And the orgy is shown in actually what I think is kind of a funny manner. Petey's beautiful plan is ruined the next day when the wino comes to his senses and rips off the Petey mask. Because I'm sure the devil would have fallen for a guy wearing a rubber mask who was knocked out and couldn't even say I do. Realizing that Petey still has the magical cane, Satan sends some goons to beat him up and to drag him in. Because see, the cane makes Petey as powerful as Satan. Which is probably why Satan let him keep it, right? I just can't get over how dumb Satan has to be in this thing. Let me help you get revenge. Let me give you an item that makes you as powerful as me, that which I have no defense against. And then, hopefully you won't try to back out of marrying my ugly daughter. Because, what would I do then? I'm just the devil. I can't think ahead. It comes down to an epic battle between Petey and the forces of hell on a rooftop. Remember, this epic battle is because the kung fu fighting comedian is trying to back out of the agreement he made with the devil after getting what he wanted, because the devil's daughter is ugly. This entire movie is about a guy not wanting to marry an ugly chick. We completely ignore the Antichrist implications. Petey finally attacks the devil, weakens him with the wand, picks him up and throws him off a roof. Satisfied that evil has been vanquished this day, he breaks the staff in half. Yeah, because I'm sure Lucifer can't survive being thrown off a building, so it's a good thing you destroyed the only thing that had any effect on him. And in our surprise twist ending, Petey goes down the stairs to climb into the car with his friends and drive off into the sunset, only to be tricked. And the car he climbs into has Leroy and Skillet and Lucifer in it. And now Petey has to marry the devil's ugly daughter. It's not really much of a twist, though. I mean, the movie's called Petey Wheatstraw, the Devil's Son-in-Law. It's not called Petey Wheatstraw, the man who was almost the Devil's Son-in-Law but managed to get out of it by defeating Satan. And the beginning opening sequence, he announces, I am Petey Wheatstraw, the Devil's Son-in-Law! And then he spouts all that random nonsense. So, if you didn't give me this ending, the title and opening sequence wouldn't have made any sense. Not a good way to sell a twist. So that's it. The movie's stupid. It's a little obnoxious, but by and large, it's harmless. It's fluff. There's not a lot of real substance to it. It's just a thing that comes and goes, and I think that's the problem with a lot of blaxploitation films. They weren't aiming for substance. They were aiming for dollars. Put black people on the screen, black people will watch it. I will give the movie this, though. Yeah, I'm white when I dance. Deal with it. I think the song's kind of catchy. See you later. Lucifer calls up Petey to let Petey know that something. I should read ahead.